Comes from nothing wrong. Hey, Sbu, do this, nothing wrong. Hey, Sbu, can we have this? Yeah, nothing wrong.
Now tell me, since I try and do my research as much as possible,
Yeah.
but you're a difficult guy to research. Because you don't do interviews.
Oh,
Or you
no,
don't
not
few, very few. You're like, nah, pick my stuff. I'm from Xola Nouse.
That's interesting. Is that true?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Maybe. No,
I can tell you that I found everything written about you online.
Is it?
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
And that's like possibly max 10 pieces of like articles and maybe one.
Maybe I'm just
TV.
bad at PR.
Maybe it's also deliberate.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I definitely don't put myself out there.
Exactly.
I don't. And it sounds strange, but I've always been one to have the work lead.
Okay.
Yeah, I never wanted to be a thought leader. So I do get a little bit intimidated when I'm brought into discussions about things.
Yeah.
I kind of prefer doing the work and kind of making the engine pump.
Okay.
Because, it's hard to speak on things that I haven't grappled with, worked with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just industry stuff in broad terms, that I haven't actually. So I don't put myself out there. No, I don't. I often put other guys in the agency out to do interviews and things, and I enjoy that because I think a lot of it's sort of building other creatives' brands.
Okay. So I'm happy to have you here, Sbu.
Yeah.
Welcome to the.
And then when I think it was, in December. Was it December? It was last year sometime.
Yeah.
Where I watched Loeries one.
Yes.
Last year sometime. I even texted him. Yeah, I actually listened to it. I remember. So when you reached out, it was already a yes from me because I enjoyed that interview so much. Where he was talking about being in Cape Town and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew the CMO corner. And how I bumped into it, I don't really know because it was the first time I bumped into it. Yes, it was totally Tishana's thing. Yeah.
That was last year, December.
It wasn't December. It was last year during the year sometime. Okay. I even texted him and said, "Dude, I just listened to the best interview." Yeah.
Ah, that's dope. I love that. At least you're doing something good. What I like is you came across the thing somewhere. Now
I came across it. Yes.
So welcome to the CMO corner.
What's this, Khalid?
Okay.
Yeah. What's this?
Yeah. This is my thing.
Oh, you just catch us off guard.
We don't do a whole spiel about this guy. So many awards.
My name is.
Yeah, my name is. Introduce yourself. No.
Oh, okay, no,
I
cool.
think there's Google. People can search the net and find your credentials.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone in this business of ours that doesn't know the odd number. I'll be very surprised.
Yes.
So welcome to the CMO corner, Sbu.
Nothing wrong. Thank you.
You say that a lot. You say nothing wrong. Where does that come from?
It's like a tick now. It's like I just say it. Where does it come from? It comes from nothing wrong. Hey, Sbu, do this, nothing wrong. Hey, Sbu, can we have this? Yeah, nothing wrong. It's like yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Why
not?
I'm super stoked to have you here, and I'm hoping as we start season 5, you're officially opening season 5, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong. And
Nothing
it's an odd number.
And it's an odd number.
Yes.
You said something about odd numbers. So you start off by saying, and I read the other day, I could be paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But you say to be number 1, you need to be an odd number. Something along those lines.
Yeah, you need to be odd to be number 1.
You need to be odd to be number 1.
Yes.
Can you expand on that for me?
Well, 1 is an odd number.
Yeah, but I'm sure
I don't think
you're meaning technically.
Technically, listen, I wouldn't come up with the quote. I wish I did.
Okay.
But, when we started the agency,
Yeah.
At least as an agency, we were at Regis long time ago, and I think, effectively, we were just dreaming big. We want to be the number 1 on the continent, number 1 independent agency on the continent. That's what our sort of thing was.
Okay.
So, number 1 is an odd number. That's cool. So this phrase, look what I came across, Xola. It says, you have to be odd to be number 1. And I was like, yeah, that's cool. That's like a rally call of sorts.
Lovely.
Yeah.
So before we get to odd number, everyone always has a story.
Yes.
I'm interested to hear your story on things you possibly saw, experienced, that kind of shaped the decisions that you made in order to be who you are today,
Yeah.
the Sbu Sitole that we get to experience, and that almost shape the reasons you chose to do what you do, which is currently Chief Creative Officer of The Odd Number.
Yes.
I just want to get that backstory to help me understand you, and obviously everyone that's watching understand you better.
Yeah. So, which part? Where do I start?
Wherever you want to start, brother.
Where do I start? I mean, well, listen, for advertising, I've always loved advertising since I was a kid.
Yeah.
My mother loved soapies, and I loved the ad breaks.
Yeah.
I used to look forward to watching them from the VWs. I just didn't know it was a career until I was in high school, and they came around sort of interviewing kids for Red and Yellow. That's the first time I heard about a career in advertising. I took it up, and I got the scholarship. And I never looked back. Like, I've just loved coming up with ads, like from print ad to anything. I just love coming up with stuff. In fact, I was almost an actor.
Okay.
So I was in a series called Soul Buddies.
You joking?
I promise
I
you.
remember Soul Buddies.
Yes. I was the bully. I was Melusi in Soul Buddies. I was a proper celebrity. I promise you. So I was in Soul Buddies.
Yeah.
So what that did, and Soul City. I had a little cameo in Soul City, and I was in Soul Buddies for a couple of shows.
Yeah.
And that was really cool because that was just showing me like being on sets and scripts and already I had a passion for like, dialogue and drama and that sort of thing. So advertising just felt like I'm taking some of that, and a little bit of coming up with ideas, and they all actually kind of came together at some point because fast forward later I'm doing like voiceovers, like I do the budget insurance voiceover. If you I'm sure you can hear.
Yeah.
But so it was just all in that realm, I mean, my mother was in magazines. She was editor of True Love back in the day, and food editor for many years. So that was again.
I read that your mother was like a food editor.
Yeah, she was a food editor. So she'd do shoots at home, right?
Yeah.
With cameramen and so it's in a way I kind of the influences were sort of always swirling around.
So did you then, you almost sound like the person that always knew, like what you said, and I think you mentioned it, that I know what I want to do. And I'll tell you why I say this, because sometimes if I think about all my guests, or most of my guests, you find that someone maybe was an accountant. And at some point they're like, nah, accounting is not for me.
Can't do it,
Let me go to marketing. You sound like one of those people that always had the foresight and you knew where your North Star was.
Yeah.
And you're like, that's what I'm going to chase.
Yeah, I won't lie, I did. No, I did. Like, listen, I definitely knew the space, right? Yeah. And it had a lot to do with creativity. Yeah. I remember with Xola, we used to take the bus together, my business partner. Probably grade 8, 9? Yeah. We were talking about what we want to do. He was like, I want to be a businessman. And I didn't understand what that was, what that meant. Like, I didn't understand it as a career, you know what I mean? Like, it sounded like just something it's like a trade thing. But I said I wanted to be in advertising. And he was like, oh, come on, come up with an ad.
That's what he said.
Yeah, and I promise you, that night I went and I thought about an advert. I came back the next day. So yeah, it was like a long time ago where I was already thinking
That's crazy.
About doing advertising.
That's beautiful, bro. So cool. Man. Your career starts early days. You spend time in the industry. You spend time at Ogilvy, FCB, Grey, and Joe Public.
Yes.
What I would love for you to reflect on is what you think you picked up in those different spaces that almost shaped what you're contributing to the industry here. And we'll still get to the things that you've contributed in the industry. Yes, we've got the awards behind us, but like your influence, sitting on the Loeries, etc. But I'm keen to understand, maybe you learned this year, you learned this year, you learned this year, that contributed to what you see now in The Odd Number.
Yeah, that's a cool question. It's a really interesting question. When I was graduating from Red and Yellow, I'd asked my lecturer, and I was like, I want to start an agency one day. What do I need to do? And he was like, no, you need to work for an agency first, and then you need to work for different sizes of agencies and just get a sense of how they all work before you can understand how to run an agency. And that's literally what I was doing. So So FCB was my first job, and that was like big.
Yeah.
What was cool about FCB was just the like working on big brands. So off the bat, I was shooting TV ads. So learning about that, working with the best writers. There was Mo Tulo back in the day. Brett was like was one of the best writers in the country at the time. So FCB was literally just like a playground.
Yes.
To just flex, and then going to Grey was like going to a small shop because they were quite small at the time, and then seeing how that works with a completely different culture as well. But there I was actually following my CD, who was an art director. I was an art director at the time, and I thought he was amazing at art direction. So I wanted to like get that skill of art direction right. So that's why I went to Grey, and then TBWA was another gear shift. It was just really around. I mean, that's Hunt Lascaris, it's the legendary Hunt Lascaris. I wanted to learn kind of how an independent that became a multinational worked, and it also gave scale. And at the time, I was a little bit more senior, so I got to just run like the IEC account, which was dope. So that was cool, and that was the forming of my partnership with Terry McKenna, who still works with me to this day. Joe Public was fantastic because that was just like, No, I mean, I always admired Joe Public from a distance because they were quite close to FCB at the time when I was there. But yeah, just working with Pepe and Koli and the guys there, that was fantastic. And it was also just like that really whet my appetite for what an independent life could look like. Like the guys were making decisions, like they were moved, like nothing had to be approved somewhere. Yeah, and also just the passion that they brought like into the build, like you could feel like this was an independent agency because everything like like they just threw everything at it, like you know what I mean, like everything counted, and they were like going up against the biggest, And
it was different between a Joe Public versus a Ogilvy, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's like everything depended on them, and I think it was different, but it also gave it a bit of a maverick sort of spirit. So that was, and I think Joe was transitioning at the time in an interesting way because they had just bought the company back, and they had come up with growth as a philosophy, and so you were starting to see and just how the owners shaped the culture as well, which was dope. And then Ogilvy was honestly just to feel how it is to again be scale, like the bigness of it, big brands, but also just to cut my teeth as a CD and like run big accounts, And I think if you think about it, that's like the testing ground for running an agency. Because the beauty about Ogilvy is if you're running KFC or DSTV, you almost feel like the CCO of that agency, you know what I mean? And you've got your teams under you and you work. So that was Ogilvy. Ogilvy was amazing for that. I mean, it was really, really awesome experience. And it's just, and I got really busy at Ogilvy. I got really, really busy, and I was like, actually, I gotta leave because if I don't, I'm gonna burn out here. I just felt like, and I was on a good wicket. I didn't want to start an agency disgruntled or with some sort of point to prove. I kind of felt like I have the energy. I love ideas. I love making stuff. It felt like an opportune time. Yeah.
And if we were to look back and we'll get to the present, we're still looking back for now.
No stress.
I'm interested to find out what work that you possibly created while working for other agencies that sticks out for you, where you're like, I think this is where I put my name on the board and I said, actually, Gashisa.
What's Gashisa?
Or whether you're proud of it. Okay, you can be, I get it. It's not easy to be like, Gashisa. But
yeah.
Or the work you create where you're like, actually, I'm putting my name on the board, I'm also competing here.
It's an interesting question. It's an interesting question. So there's work I've done at other agencies that I really liked. And it's gonna sound weird, but I feel like I've always been chasing the ad that I'm gonna make. In other words, like
I get you.
I never felt like, okay, this is the one. I've made the point. It's like I've always felt like, that was cool, but I made that the thing. The ad I want, you know what I mean? It's maybe a little bit of divine discontent, a little bit like where just kind of, listen, I remember when I won my first Loerie, that was at Joe Public, and I hadn't won in many years. which was quite interesting. I think I was like a good 6, 7 years in the industry before I won my first award.
Yeah.
So winning that was really awesome and kind of daunting and kind of weird as well. But I sort of quickly moved on and was like, what's the next thing? But that was quite an experience. That was like me going, whew, finally, at least I think I can do this thing.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Do you still think you're chasing the ad or the work?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, in many ways. In many ways, I am, yeah. I still feel like, there's that thing I want to make where I go, fuck yeah, that's that one.
Do you think
That's
you'll
that
ever
one.
get to the point where you're like, this
do.
is the one?
I do.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
That's
I
crazy.
do. I do. It's just like, yeah, I do.
No, because you, and again, maybe I'm projecting, right? You strike me as the kind of guy that is always chasing the thing. And because you're also like semi-perfectionist, you're like, I don't think I'll get there, but I'll always chase it. And it's a mindset thing to say, I'll always chase it.
Yeah. Yeah, I am. You see, the thing is, I really enjoy it, and I really study advertising. Like I know the level of work that I want to make, and I am always chasing, but I'm not always. I guess it's not so much to prove a point to myself. I think I haven't yet come to a point where I've gone, okay, that's that one.
Yeah.
Like I can, I'm satisfied. I'm like absolutely satisfied with that one. You know what I mean? Like there's been, and it sounds like a weird thing, but there's been times like, for instance, we could win like a gold.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, yeah, man, but we could have, it was nice, but wasn't,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I get you. Okay, so now let's talk about, you alluded to the fact that you study advertising.
Yes.
And I'm not talking like you study the game, the process, and the things that are being made currently.
Yeah,
and you know what kind of work you want to produce on a global scale or from a continent perspective. And again, I'm thinking that's where you are.
Yeah.
My question is, if you think about that currently and you look at the industry in totality now,
Yes, sir.
do you think we've got good output coming out of the industry? And maybe we can look at South Africa and say, in comparison to the rest of the world, are we really competing? And I'll tell you why I ask.
Yeah.
I was reading a canned paper a couple of days ago. So I'm going back as I'm prepping for this interview. I go back and I see my dates could be wired now, but I think the peak we were sitting at number 10.
Yes, sure.
And this was maybe 10 years ago.
Yeah,
2014, not 2010.
Yeah.
Now, in 2024, which was the last report, we were number 26, which I believe is the lowest you could be.
Yeah.
Amongst other companies, obviously.
Yeah.
Within that space.
Yeah. It's
amongst other countries, sorry, within that space. So the data says we've gone down.
Yes.
But for someone who's in the industry, what are your thoughts? Your feeling, what does the work, what type of feeling does it give you? Is it like, okay, guys, we're going backwards, or it's just different now?
We've gone down.
Yeah.
we have. I think we've gone down for two reasons. I think, like we've had a bit of a brain drain.
Yeah.
Like a lot of guys have left the industry.
Yeah.
Or the country.
Yeah.
And are working elsewhere. And then the other is the guys coming up are not necessarily sufficiently trained, right? Like or nurtured, or a lot of guys don't know what an idea is these days as well. They're sort of coming with thoughts to the review, and and maybe we've just kind of we've lost a lot of good people, and we're not making great people, as an industry. But we have, I think also this back then, for instance, and I may be wrong, but there were less sort of categories to enter. Like a lot of the work was maybe a little bit more traditional.
Yes.
Now you find the categories are wide. There's from health to all sorts. So we're not really competing in sort of the array of what's the opportunities and the areas we can compete in. Or not even geared to service those areas. So I think that's part of the issue. But I mean, it's pretty obvious that just from an output point of view, it's not where it could be. Yeah.
And then my question, because I know you also feel very passionate about this,
Yeah.
is nurturing the talent.
Mm.
You know, so I've spoken to multiple people, and we speak a lot about nurturing the talent. I just don't get a sense of practical ways and tools to nurture the talent.
Yeah.
And you've kind of like alluded to something now. You're like, people come to a session with thoughts,
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh snap, there's a difference. Yes, I'm in the industry, but to
Yeah.
a point, there's a difference, guys.
Yeah.
And for us to nurture the talent, we're gonna have to teach the talent.
Yeah.
But how do we do that?
Yeah.
Is it odd numbers responsibility all of a sudden now just because the team is passionate about it to say,
Yeah.
guys, we want to nurture? Or is it the industry's role in these things we can create within the industry, Loeries, creative circle, like that can actually nurture the talent?
Yeah. 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 I mean, I love that question because, mine is take care of your domain, right? So when it comes to the odd number, the guys in here, especially the young people, one of the things you must give is time, right? It's time and honesty. I think, a lot of the time we're saying, well, we don't like that idea, but we're not really saying why and how to get to the next thing.
True.
Or, being encouraging or, hand holding, you kind of have to do that for the longest time. And just being honest, like with guys and where they are and what you think about their performance and how they're doing, and and they have actual access to you. I think that's what I mean by nurturing, and also throwing them in, not in the deep end, but like getting them more and more independent, or getting that creative confidence up, rather.
Yeah.
That's what I like to call it, is getting them to present to clients, present their thoughts, to take charge of jobs and own jobs end to end, and but you kind of playing a little bit more of a guidance role, like letting go sometimes and letting guys just do the thing. So it's multifaceted, and it also depends. It's also not creatives aren't necessarily homogenous, right? There's different types of personalities, and they're all kind of intricate and sensitive in their own ways, and require a certain approach or different approaches in many cases. But there's that, and there's also just the drive to win. So I think by pushing, by setting the targets fairly high, the guys, and when they get there, you celebrate that. You celebrate that. You make them love that, so that they're coming back for more. And I think that's it. So we have like what we call Creative Fridays at the agency, and that's essentially dedicated to this whole studio. We talk about ads, we present stuff we've seen, we talk about ideas that they might be struggling with. It's just an array of stuff that where the guys get to spend time with us as sort of the leaders of the agency.
That's
and
brilliant.
just thrash things out. So yeah.
I actually don't think a lot of people are investing in the nurturing. When sometimes you sit down and you're like, and Shem, I would assume bigger agencies, and we'll talk about your celebration of your last award with Ad Focus, but bigger agencies, for as long as you have the bigger accounts that are paying lots and lots of money, I don't think you worry so much about the output, because you're still in a point of privilege where you're winning the big accounts, you're winning the standard banks, you've got the big deals, you've got the.
But what's the work look like? Like, what is that work looking like?
But that's the question.
Because that has to be the question, right? Because you've got the big accounts, they're running. But like, do you ever, like on a monthly basis, just put the work on the wall and go, oh, this is fantastic. We love this stuff.
And I don't think that happens.
Because that's how that shows, and then go, who made it?
Yes.
Because that shows you who you're nurturing and if you're growing, if you're getting better as a creator. Just to kind of look at the work, like sometimes we send the work to clients and kind of never see it again because we're not watching TV, we're not looking at our own work. It's
definitely.
like, it's out there somewhere, Every now and then you might drive past your billboard and go, oh yeah, Ghana. But you put it out, but you never went, how's this work? Look at all that we're making for this client. Do we like it? And then ask yourself the question, and who's making it? If it's just this cluster of senior creatives, then where are all the youngsters? What are they doing? What are they making? Why is that work not up on the wall? Are we empowering them? What?
Yeah.
And I think that's just, you got to take stock, you know.
So now, I wonder if I had to give you an opportunity, which is the conversation we're having now, to tell me what you think are the things or the ingredients
Yeah.
of great work in terms of output now, what would you say they are? Even if it's just one thing that you have on the top of your head.
Great work.
Yeah, where you can say this is great stuff. This is like amazing stuff, guys.
Yeah, I feel it. I feel it. I feel it. Yeah, I used to have a CD that said, I want to feel it here.
Yeah.
Like I feel it. Like there's a visceral, there's an emotional feeling to it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not just clever. Yeah, that's clever. That's nice. Like it has an emotional resonance with me. You know what I mean? That's when I already go. That's like I really love that.
Yeah.
Then I can go into the technical. Ooh, they use this medium really well. Ooh, it's really shot beautifully. Ooh, you know. Then I can get into the details. But like, just feel it. It's at the right place, the right time, in the right space, and I just go, fuck, I love that.
Yeah.
That's dope. You know, you just got to keep that.
Feeling.
Yeah.
Correct. Now let's go to 2015.
Uh-oh, what was going on there?
2015, I believe, was the launch, or the official launch rather, of the odd number.
That's true.
It is true, right?
Yeah, that's when we actually got into an office.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I say this to say we in 2025, it's officially 10 years.
Yes, sir.
Have you taken the time to take stock of that? Like you've been in the industry for 10 years with your own business? Because that's also not easy. That's the reality. In this industry, it's even worse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Have you taken the time to just digest and say,
You know, you're right.
hell yeah, man. Like, am I where I want to be? No. Have I created the work? No.
Yeah.
Damn, man, I'm still around.
Yeah.
And I'm expanding. Hint is, guys, I'm in the building, so I know there's expansion.
Yeah.
So things are good for the boys. Well, you're like, actually, we're still here, we're expanding.
Yeah.
Have you taken the time, bro?
I don't know. I don't know if I have, man. I like yeah, we talk about it with Xola every now and then. I was telling someone the other day around like when we started in 2015.
Yeah.
I kept Ogilvy's laptop. So I could just keep, I didn't have my own one, so I just kept making ads. We're building a profile, so I was using Ogilvy's for a good 3 months. They didn't know it was missing. They were too big, I think. And then I got a call 3 months later, and they're like, "Yo, hey, where's this laptop?" And then and now we had to make a plan quickly because now I'm the creative. I need a Mac, you know. And FNB had those. If you have a check account, you could get an iPad or an iMac.
And then you pay per month or something like that. I remember those.
And you pay per month. And we both had check accounts, Xola and I.
Yeah.
And we tried applying and we got rejected because we weren't making any money anymore. We didn't have jobs. We were unemployed. So Xola's sister managed to get it through the checking account. And that was my first laptop. Yeah. So like, so we'll be talking about 10 years and these little stories start coming up, right? Okay. And I think what we really want to do is start compiling like this. There's been quite a journey, and you're right, like to have just made it, you know, like we thank God, man. Like we really, really thank God. Like I think we pray all the time. Yeah. And we're really grateful for just like you said, just having survived it, you know, because it's been touch and go a lot. Yeah. You know, it's been touch. I think as an entrepreneur, you always got to closing down. Yeah. At least you feel like it, you know. There's always a little bit of an anxiety. You know, you just never know what's going to happen next week. So yeah, it's been good. Yeah, we're deliberately trying to take stock this year, though. That's good. In fact, this podcast actually comes timelessly. Is it? Yeah, because it's 10 years, I guess. Yes. Yeah. So now you're forcing us to actually go. Yeah, no, actually, this is the first part of our roadshow, 10-year roadshow. I'm glad. Our timing was impeccable. So, and I say this because some of the reasons of why this podcast exists is one, to celebrate the guest. Sure. Every guest we have here, it's intentional of me to celebrate. They have the opportunity to share what they know with an audience that's coming up.
similar to your point around nurturing, I think if we utilize this platform correctly, it plays that role where you're nurturing other people. Because I believe the conversations we are having here, what's happening in the industry, what creates great work, what's needed, those are the things that people actually should be listening to and actioning. It's almost like a mentorship session with everyone else you can't reach.
Yes, no, I got you.
You feel me? So I want to take that moment just to like sit in the well done, gents.
Thank you.
We are proud of
Thanks,
you. We are supporting you in our little ways, even though sometimes you might not know when we hoy in a young guys, talk to these guys. Maybe you might like what they say.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
Yes, love that.
And that's our contribution. But thank you. We are proud of you. Keep flying, gents. Okay, now let's talk about 2015 happens, business starts, and you know, did you foresee where you are right now to say, after 10 years, I think we would have been in this position? Or you're like, let's just try this thing, man. We're entrepreneurs. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, we can go back to corporate or the agencies and just, we've done great work. So I'm sure they're going to welcome us back.
I said that to my boss when I was leaving Ogilvy.
Yeah.
And she says, no, you know, you must never ever say that again. I said, I'll be back in 6 months. No, I said, will you give me my job back if I come back in 6 months? She says, I never want that to happen. You must get that out of your mind. You're never coming back.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a great thing to say. Yeah. To be honest, we never knew what it would look like, but we certainly planned for it. Xola comes from a sort of, what do they call it? EY, those consulting firms, so the background, consultancies. So, you know, he comes with this planning ahead, you know, just kind of, I guess how to sort of targets and how the different years are going to be themed. And we kind of drew up a 10-year plan, or I think was it 5-year? Yeah. But just at the time, just kind of the sort of clients we want, what we want revenue-wise, how many people we'll have in the agency, and we kind of drew it up for the next sort of 5 to 7 years. Yeah. And it was quite interesting just seeing us hit those marks with each year that came. Yeah. You know, we were not too far off. You know, sometimes we were actually even above that target. So there was some. It wasn't by fluke. I think there was some planning and some you know, conscientious thinking. Love it. You know, just around that.
And in your planning, some things that you normally mention is that the odd number stands for or tries to play a role in the liberation of brands. What I've jotted down here.
Yeah. Which
for me is a powerful statement, which I would love for you to kind of like just expound on. Yeah, because it almost, and I'm assuming again, it almost feels like you're saying at least that the brands are not in a place where they feel liberated. And with the odd number, we can help you do that for your brands, for your business as a result, and the economy as a whole. It's a powerful statement. Like
No, when we hit on that, and it was inward initially, right? Just around liberation, and I think what liberation felt like was just us looking back and looking at what we've been doing. You know, when we started the agency, it felt like the idea of a black-owned agency, 100% black-owned agency, competing, going toe-to-toe with multinationals at a creative excellence level didn't really exist, you know, and it felt like we were sort of just in tenders and government work and not really getting a chance to shine, you know, at the Loeries or at Cannes and that sort of thing. And I just felt like, you know, what we were able to start proving is that we can go toe-to-toe creatively with the rest of the industry, being a black-owned agency as well, right? And that felt like we were liberating the idea of being a black, not only business, but black creative agency, you know, and the excellence that exists amongst black people in the creative field. So it kind of comes from our own DNA, which was essentially for our staff to think bigger, our creatives to think bigger and better, for us to be hyper-professional, for us to compete globally even, was an idea of liberating the idea of or what makes a black business successful. And then, of course, then it was like, well, then we're going to take that liberated mindset into the brands we service, right?
Yeah.
And how we approach them from the relationships we have with them, quite frankly, with the marketers on the other side of the table, to how we work with them and to the insights that we're proud to bring to the table because we understand them, you know, and once we can bring that to the table and power that with a fantastic idea, you know, that's already some steps towards liberating your brand. So it feels like it runs in it feels like we hit on something that already ran in the DNA of the business, you know.
And tell me, when you talk about ideas and the liberation of the brands and how you bring that into the other businesses and rooms and boardrooms that you go into, would you say there's an art in selling ideas so that they almost see the light of day?
An art.
Yeah, like is there an art or art and a science maybe to doing it properly? And I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
The other side to it is certain ideas are not or don't see the light of day.
Yeah.
Because the idea might be great, but how it was sold in the boardroom to whoever it might be was rejected. But it could actually make an impact in shifting the performance of the brand, the equity, penetration, whatever it might be that we're trying to measure for that specific campaign. Or relevance. It could be even relevance that you're trying to drive. But because it just didn't land, because Sbu gets it, but like it's not translating to someone else. Do you think there's an art in doing that and taking people on that journey?
Yeah, I definitely do. I mean, I think, it's like there's an art to any negotiation, right?
Yeah.
And I'm putting forward an argument to someone who's they're hearing it for the first time.
Yeah.
I need to know who I'm speaking to first. And secondly, I actually need to believe what I'm actually talking about.
True.
I think that goes a long way. Like, so knowing and believing your content that you bring into the table goes a long way, because anyone can spot if you're just showing me this because you're running out of time, or if you really love this thing that you're putting on the table. That goes a long way. And then, of course, walking people through it, like almost simplifying, getting the clutter out of the way and having a simple conversation about this idea and walking through the steps so that someone actually understands it, you know. So there is an art. You know, I don't really want to talk about like the drama of it all, but I think for me it's like just how distilled your thinking is, how much you believe in that content, and also how much homework you've done around the brand you're talking to, right? You know what actually also helps is relationships.
Gotcha.
Like, you know, that's why I really love like our relationship with Game, for instance, has been on for a while, because, you know, over a period of time, you know, you start establishing a level of trust when you're presenting ideas and you know each other. You also get to know kind of, you know, how your client thinks, and you know where to push and where areas maybe not to go to. So the relationship and the understanding of each other goes a long way. You know, and when that's really well established, then you can push. You know, and sometimes a lot of the selling happens offline. So sometimes it's not in a big forum. Yeah. It's just you, the CMO, I'm the CCO, and let me text you on the side and say, what do you think? What are you struggling with there? You know, and I think that relationship also goes a long way.
Okay. And I asked that question because I want to talk about some of the things you won awards for. Yes. Because for that art to take place, I think there has to be a level of trust, right? And again, I don't want to say the only good work is work that receives awards. In no shape or form am I saying that. But awards give you that validation to say, actually,
100%,
touch, and like I can feel and touch that, you know what, the hard work and the risk that the client possibly took, they are the results for it.
100%.
How has the experience been?
Yeah.
Because you also started collecting these very early.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, generally, you must have skin in the game before you then start collecting these.
Yes.
So you've got Loeries. I believe you've got a can line.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Like, man, how does it feel? Are you in the business of awards? You know, there's also a debate where it's like, okay, do you pick your agencies on the premise that you see them collecting awards, or you picking them on the premise that they understand and they know what they're doing, etc.? But how has this journey been?
It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, the awards do give you a tangible sense, and I guess maybe even benchmark of where you are creatively.
Yeah.
I think having spent some time at the Loeries, when it comes to awards as well, results also matter. So effectiveness plays a role in the awards you win. The journey for us, when we started again when we started in 2015, I was chatting to Gareth Leck, who had happened to be my previous boss as well. And I remember him going, "Nah, bro, it's easy, bro. You just win awards. You'll be fine. Just win awards as an agency, you'll be fine." But I read between the lines, I knew what he meant, which was we don't have a marketing budget to go out there and we're going to be going door to door and people aren't going to know us. So the idea was, how do you get that creative work to really win and to be up there, the odd number to feature? That becomes our marketing, right? So in many ways, we were able to get our name out there through winning awards and kind of the work we do, the work led as opposed to sort of me just doing interviews and talking about stuff. I think it was, and I guess it's also part of building the brand, right? You want the brand to be associated with creative excellence.
Correct.
So it's been a great journey, and it's also been awesome seeing all the kids who've come into the agency and seeing them win and get on stage. And I walked past someone the other day. I won't mention names, but as I walked, one of my team members, they had just won, and as I was walking behind them, they were like telling their mom they won, and she was speaking like in full-on speed, describing a win, and I was just that's so cool, So that just warms the heart.
So you've served as the chair of the Loeries.
Yes, yeah.
You've judged multiple awards. I believe you've judged at the Loeries.
Yes, yeah.
You've done D and AD. That's what it's called.
Yes.
Yeah. The One Show.
One Show, yes. We're doing that this year. Wait, have I judged D and AD? I don't think I judged D and AD.
You did it.
I just agreed, but I didn't judge. We've won it.
Okay, you won it though.
We've won it, yeah. I haven't judged.
But I say this to say you are in the space.
Yeah, sure.
And you kind of spoke about effectiveness and results. Do you think as an industry we are good at doing that? And I say this because what I've heard and what I've seen is that we're not great at measuring results and effectiveness.
No.
You know what I mean? And the simple answer is we just need to start doing it. But there's a reason why we're not doing it, and possibly that's our shortfall in the boardroom, where that's why we're not invited, because you've got this great idea that sits in a corner somewhere and you're not necessarily measuring the impact of it. What are you seeing in the process of judging? Now I'm looking at it from your perspective of being a judge, with the work that's out there. Like, how are we doing from an effectiveness and measuring perspective? Are we making progress? Are we not? What can we do to better it?
I think there's progress. I think there is progress. I was judging Effie's not too long ago.
Yes.
I mean, Effie's effectively is
About effectiveness.
is about effectiveness, right?
Correct.
And there's some awesome work that's coming out of there. I think it's that one requires the client to come along the journey, right?
Gotcha.
I think a lot of the times we do find that some companies are reluctant to share sort of their results, I guess from a sales point of view, or certain things are just not, we want to keep to ourselves. So that becomes quite hard to then do a case study, I guess, of how a campaign's done. And also sometimes just putting enough investment behind ideas to make sure and giving them the patience in the market to actually garner a level of the kind of effectiveness you want. And what is that effectiveness? Like, what defines it? Is it sales? Is it share of voice? What is it? What are you aiming for? I think that one definitely is a collaborative, a partnership one. And ultimately that's what we're in business for, right? We're not just making the stuff for trophies. We're making the stuff to actually make a difference in a client's business. Yeah.
And then maybe as we try and wind down, an hour goes on very quickly. If you were to sit and think about the client that you've had the longest,
yes,
what do you think made that relationship where it is today? Like, and I'm saying this because I'm trying to share, at least from someone that has done it, the ingredients of a great client-agency relationship. Because you know what happens. You create the work for me, Year 1, year 2, I'm like, Sbu or number sketchy right now. It's not delivering.
Yeah.
I think I need to stop and go to
Yeah.
a Joe Public. And then after that, after a Joe Public, I go to an overview,
Yeah.
etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
What are the ingredients of a long-lasting client-agency relationship?
Oh man. So our longest has been game.
Okay.
It's longest. And I come sort of from a above the line perspective, sort of Ogilvy and so on. And when Game came in, Game is a retail brand, right?
Yeah.
But the client really wanted sort of ideas within the retail space.
Yeah.
So we kind of had to lean into something we're not necessarily 100% comfortable in doing. And so just giving us that shot was amazing off the bat. And we've got to give it to this lady's name is Catherine Madley, and she was really the chief marketer there who we built a relationship with over time. And she was like, Sbu, we need to bring thunder to the brand, to the game brand. But it's that simplicity and that very passionate. She's extremely passionate about the brand, and almost like you can't help but be as passionate when you're chatting to her about it.
We used to chat to Catherine.
Yeah, she's amazing. She really, really is. But she's also extremely loyal. So like the agency, like you said, COVID happened. We've gone through our ups and downs, our dips, and she just held on. And she really believes herself, believes in the power of long-term relationships, and not only long-term, but creative excellence in those relationships, right? So she'll back us when we have an idea, and she doesn't micromanage and get into too much of the detail of the creative stuff. There's a level of trust there.
Yeah.
And it's worked because Game, I think when we inherited Game, there were 92 most loved brands, and they're at 9 now, if I'm not mistaken, which is amazing. So I think also just the ability to show results year on year. I think it hasn't been successful all the time. We've had our dips, and then we have those honest conversations. She'll tell us, this year was a doozy, and then we back at it. And, this year I think we did a lot better. I think Game's in the top 10 again. So, yeah.
Cool. And maybe I would love to close on a question for you.
A question.
Yeah.
I mean, there were no questions this whole time. Now you ask a question.
Yeah, now I'm asking a question. Right now,
now it's a question.
That's
very scary.
No, man, it's not. If there was a brand, a business that you currently don't have, that you love to work on, which one would it be?
I want to work with an excellent marketer.
Yeah. Not a brand.
Yeah. So here's the thing. I've worked on some awesome brands.
Yeah.
But the people on those brands haven't been awesome. And you just don't make great work when you work like that. So you can work on excellent, amazing brands and do such bad work. But you can work on brands that aren't that great and do amazing work because you're working with an excellent marketer. A brave marketer, like someone who has vision, who sees what you want to do, who gets it, who understands their market, their consumers, who doesn't meddle, who trusts agencies, So I want to work with amazing marketers, and I think we can make brands amazing through that. Yeah.
Brilliant. On that note, brother, thank you so much for your time.
Fantastic.
I think we had a brilliant conversation. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I hope everyone that's watching will find it just as fruitful and as helpful as I did. I normally do these, and it's always like I'm doing it for the person that's watching.
Yeah.
I also end up learning so many things.
Yeah.
So thank you.
No, it's a pleasure, man.
It's a wrap, guys.
It's a pleasure. It's a wrap.
Done.
Is that the close?
Yeah, that's the close.
It's tough, these things.
Brother. Yeah,